Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 23rd of July Board of Selectmen meeting. Today we have an appointment to the Police Department. We have with us two guests, Mr. Todd Ford, representing the Hampshire Council of Governments, also Mr. Jim Masick from Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. Got several issues dealing with appointments, have a review of some ongoing actions, the Town Hall project and others as well. We'll spend some time on our fiscal year 14 focus areas, and there's a variety of other actions as well. Is anyone here for community forum? We'll start first with the police appointment. Tom, Chief Osley is here.
I'd like to introduce, you have the resume, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, this is Peter Castillo. I'll let him describe what he is. He works at the VA full-time. He was a Southampton cop, but I'll let him say anything else he wants to say.
I work full-time at the VA as a police officer. I work 2 to 11 there. I'm a military vet, and I live right here in town.
Oh, great. We have your record, reviewed the resume.
My resume right there?
Yes, we did.
Okay. If you work 3 to 11, what shifts you going to have a month?
He'll be working weekends. He works Monday through Friday up there.
Okay.
He'll be working weekends here.
All right.
Any
Have any other questions?
Motion to appoint?
Move to appoint. Peter?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Okay.
Take care.
Take care.
Yeah.
On board.
Who's going to be training them, Tom? You?
What's that?
Are you going to be training them?
No, Mike will. For you, it's basically just going to be a matter of, he knows the streets because he lives in town. He's been a police officer, so he knows that, so it's just going to be kind of a quick familiarization.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have with us today Mr. Todd Ford, Hampshire Council of Governments. Todd tries to get around periodically to the various communities, talk about programs of mutual interest, share information, what's going on, what perhaps new needs we may have. Welcome, Todd.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you.
Could you grab that mic here on?
Could you come up here?
Oh,
Want me to go with that? Down the table.
well,
Thanks for having me, Mr. Chairman. Hello, everybody. How are you? Good. I won't take too much of your time. I know you have a busy schedule, but just wanted to give you an update and see what any questions that you might have on any programs that we are currently offering, and then again, any suggestions that you might have on any needs that you have that you think might be shared regionally that we could possibly create a sustainable model to address. We've been focusing our efforts lately in electricity. The real-time product has been rather up and down for the last several months. The winter was particularly bad. So we're looking at ways that we can continue the savings and perhaps reduce the risk that the real-time product has. We introduced Hampshire Solar, which is a way for communities to buy net metering energy credits. That's at a 30% discount. And so we are hoping that that will continue and spread. The main limiting factor there is that we need the actual local solar fields to take the credits from. So we're broadening our scope on who we're partnering with so that we can continue the credits coming. We had 2 solar fields that we were offering, and all of those credits have been taken. So it has been very rapidly picked up, and we have no problem selling those net metering energy credits because it can save you about 30%. So we hope to have some new solar fields within the next several months that we'll be able to push on. As you know, there have been some changes with the SREC market, which threw the whole kind of solar industry up into the air for a couple of weeks, but it seems to be settling, and the new SREC 2 program seems to be on the right course, and so the market seems to be stabilizing a little bit. The aggregation petition continues to be in front of the DPU. We're continuing to work out issues with the Attorney General. And hopefully that'll be moving along at a more rapid pace at the beginning of next month when all of our resubmittals will be filed We have new council on board, and so hopefully that'll move through the system with a little bit more haste. It is, of course, the longest petition that's ever been in front of DPU, and so we're eager to get that going. There are now 30, I don't want to give you the wrong number, but I think it's 38 towns now that have signed on. The website has all the information. We're getting a lot more Worcester towns, so again, the more towns join, the more we're able to aggregate that and turn it into a very large aggregation, which we think will grab the attention of the supplier market and be able to save your residences some money on their electricity bills. We're also focusing on IT. We have the Hampshire IT program, which you guys participate in, but we also are working on the Hampshire Cloud, which will be a way for communities to migrate their IT infrastructure to a cloud-based system. So instead of investing in large-scale capital improvements here in Town Hall with a server, et cetera, and computers that have large capacity power, by migrating things to a more cloud-based environment, you'll be able to save a significant amount of money and have more assurance that the system is backed up and protected and safe over time. We're working with Hadley on that. We're partnering with Amherst. We're also working with Middlefield on that. So look for an actual viable product to be coming out within the next 9 months or so on that. Our purchasing program is also continuing forward. We are running an analysis, and our prices are pretty much the lowest in Western Mass that we can find. So we're very proud of the work that's been going on there. Frank Murdy's, our Regional Services and Finance Director, has been working hard on our regional accounting program. One thing that I think we know and that a lot of the towns in Western Mass are finding out is that there is really a critical shortage of skilled municipal accountants in Western Massachusetts. So I reached out to Senator Rosenberg's office, and we're going to be talking with some other entities throughout Western Mass to try to look at that problem in a bit more robust manner. A lot of our accountants are getting up there in years and are looking at retirement, and this is going to be a really critical issue going forward, because there's really no one coming up through the ranks. If you put out a job ad, as we have now 3 times, you really get almost no applicants. So I think it's a critical issue. We're going to take a regional approach to finding a way we can find some sort of sustainable solution to that. That's my quick update. Glad to answer any questions and hear any suggestions that you might have on how we can do things better or add new programs to our repertoire.
Sorry, go ahead.
Todd, quite some time ago when you first came on board, you and I talked about grant writing person or grant grant research and so on for various towns. Where are you with that? I mean, that to me is a hot item for smaller communities, because naturally we can't afford a grant writer, and there's a lot of towns that are always looking for money and looking for grants. So where are you at with that?
Yeah, so we created a comprehensive grant database, which is available to our member towns, and it has all of the state grants, the federal grants, and even private foundation grants that are available to municipalities. We have done some grant writing for some communities that have asked us, and we'd be glad to have Frank or myself even work with you guys on a grant that you may need. We don't have a grant writer on staff either, because you do have to pay them, and the ones that are paid kind of ad hoc are still available to communities. Look for recently retired town administrators, usually like to become grant writers, but that's something that we could probably hook you up with if you have a grant or a need to look at what grants might be available. I'd encourage you to look at that database on our website, and then feel free to contact us, and we will either work with you or we'll set you up with one of the grant writers that we're aware of to work you through that grant.
Okay, thank you.
What are the metrics now? I understand now you're working with Amherst on the cloud device, another activity. What are the metrics that you're using to determine whether this is a trial balloon for a year or so with Hadley and others?
Yep.
What are the metrics you're using to measure success?
Well, certainly cost. So ongoing cost of your IT infrastructure is something that we're looking at. So we know what some towns are paying to maintain their IT infrastructure, both the capital cost of buying the server, then to protect the server, all the monthly and annual subscriptions that you have and hardware and software costs to keep it protected and safe. And you can take that and then also look at the hardware that you need in your computing capacity in every computer that you have. And then again, all the virus and the email protection, et cetera. So we know what those costs are for various sized towns. What we're looking at now is to create that off-site computing model where all of those costs are more internalized into one monthly bill. And we're looking at the price points on that. So we're trying to partner with Amherst and other public entities to keep the costs as low as possible, but still provide 100% safe, secure computing environment for the municipalities of Western Mass. So the cost is going to be key. Everyone can go out and buy a server. You can, increase your capital budget, but it is a big deal. They need updating or replacing every 8 to 10 years. And we feel that this model has been embraced by the private sector. It is saving the private sector a lot of money. We feel that migrating towns, change in towns is difficult, and that's why this is a pilot, because we want to work through the step-by-step decision tree that a select board is going to have to make to start to migrate their staff to a cloud computing model. So cost is key, but also the ease of that migration. So at the end of the day, we want to create a report that shows the decision tree on what a town has to actually look at and do an inventory internally and then make those decisions. What software are you going to use going forward? What are you going to buy? Thin clients, or basically empty computers that just access the internet. What is your internet connectivity? Do you have broadband in the building? Those types of decision tree things are also going to be a critical component. But at the end of the day, we want to have a sustainable business model that towns can use with an accompanying decision tree that they can use to make the decisions that they need to make.
Now, this is on the data backup, Todd?
It's data backup, it's
Provides
email. I mean, a lot of towns are still using Gmail, or they don't have their own email addresses. They might use, some towns use, the first letter and the name, and so the email addresses get old, but all those email addresses cost you money. There's just tons of stuff that you can start looking at when you migrate to a cloud-based environment and start consolidating some of that information. But it's data, it's software, and it's also hardware.
Okay, I guess the concern that I have is, let's say if the assessors went with that package, okay, or with your program, how can you guarantee that they're going to have, like right now, there's very limited or very little downtime with what we have. How are you guys going to make sure that there's very little or none for downtime?
In terms of the computers crashing, or?
Yeah.
Well, that's the business model. The cloud-based systems are much more robust than any internal system that you would create here. So they are designed they have
Capacity,
backup, they
redundancy.
have redundancies all built in, and they're a very robust system.
Okay.
That's one of the points, is
So
that,
not only backup, what you're saying is the operating system can be operating right from that.
yes,
So-
so that your computer on your desk is essentially empty, and it just gets you on through the broadband to the cloud-based system. What you look at on your screen is the same as you would as if your computer was there, but your computer is empty and it's getting data off-site in a secure location.
Okay. I'm not sure if I agree with that, as far as
Well, exactly, and
past
that's why it's a pilot program. There's certainly a lot of
course.
questions that need to be worked out.
Yeah.
But the cloud-based computing done right, with the right entities, I think, is going to be the wave of the future.
I understand the backing up and backing up on a daily basis, but as far as the regular operating system, I feel like the assessing package should stay in-house, and you can back it up to the system. That's my past experiences as an assessor.
Sure.
Well, both business and federal government are moving in that direction heavily. Any other questions?
No, I'm all set.
No, that's good. Thank you for
Todd,
coming
we
in.
appreciate you coming.
All right, appreciate you having me. Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
the update.
Good luck, and
Good
again,
luck
reach out.
on aggregation.
Thank you very much. I'm feeling hopeful. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Just for listeners, our counselor to the Hampshire Council of Government this year is Mr. Fran Goodgen. He was unable to be here today. Next, we have Mr. Jim Mazik from Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. Recall some months ago, Jim was here and we spoke about and developed a grant application. Since we're awarded up to $50,000 to do a reuse and facility assessment of potential uses of Center School. And Jim's here today to talk a little bit about what he sees as the way ahead. And again, part of that is we're planning to use Pioneer Valley Planning Commission to help us execute that grant. Jim, would you join us up here so we can show you on camera?
Before that, I want to go back to Ed's comment about the grant side of things. I mean, this was a grant Robertson wrote, and we obtained from folks. We have about 50 people on staff. About 25 of those are planners. We have other things who are more technical based or support based and more specialized. But all the planning staff we have write grants. So we have local technical assistants. You pay an assessment fee. You're entitled to request 3 days of assistance. 3 days could be writing a grant. That's 22 and a half hours. So if you have grants coming up, like the one we just secured for you, you call, and it costs you nothing for us to write a grant for you.
Okay.
So you have that assistance, you have that availability. We've written grants for the town in the past, some unsuccessful. Years ago, some block grants didn't work, but you have the ability to use us to write grants for your community.
All right. How about the research? I mean, if we got a specific project, town hall renovation, okay, that's what we're looking for grant money for that.
Yep.
Do you have people that constantly monitor like that? Is there like a search vehicle that you guys have that you can plug this in and it will constantly search the system?
Constantly search, or
Or search on a weekly basis or whatever comes available. Something's got to, there's got to be a way to search it on an ongoing basis until we find something.
Yeah, there's not. Well, we have a lot of subscriptions we are part of, so we get regular updates in terms of these grants are available. This funding release is coming out in so many months. I mean, we're hooked in. We've subscribed to a couple of publications, both online and print, and it indicates to you what is coming up down the pike. There's a couple that's coming up right now that's available. So we're pretty much aware of what's out there and what communities can access. I mean, just kind of, again, our nature of our organization, we survive by competitive grants for the cities and towns that we work with. So the assessment money, we're a $6 million operation. The assessment money that all the municipalities pay in is $92,000 a year. We put that back into assistance back to communities. So all the monies to operate the agency comes from grants we apply for the cities and towns, and then we end up, working with the towns and cities on those. So, just in the future, if you have things, just don't hesitate to call, like this one here, call and we'll help you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, on this grant here, did the town get the contract yet from DHCD?
It's been signed. Yeah.
It has been
Yeah,
signed.
we're all set.
Has it been sent back?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll just send Jim a copy.
Yeah, if you could give me a copy, because there are a couple things in there that make sure that we're filled out. There's also potentially special conditions. I don't think there were any. But just, if I could have I need a copy anyway for the file. So that obviously is the first thing, and, we need a copy of that. If there were special conditions, again, I don't think there would be, but it's a 30-day response time to respond to those special conditions. And it might be assurance that the town might do something, but again, without having seen the contract, can't tell if there were any or not. There'll be a bit of a startup. The startup process, there will be some minor environmental clearances. We pretty much have those done, but just finalizing them. It's a planning project, so it's not really going to require any notification period, but just make sure the environmental records are in place, because then you cannot draw any funds until all those clearances are in place. That includes if there are 30-day conditions as well as the environmentals. So we are, as indicated, be helping you to oversee this project.
Can I ask a question on the environmental conditions? Exactly what are we talking about there?
It's
Are we talking about conducting an assessment?
No.
It's just as is, what's known?
It's a disclosure process. We went through that. I just going to make sure that
There is an adjoining property that has a problem.
No, this is not. On the environmental process on these programs, these funds are for public notification.
Okay.
So the various other agencies will have a chance to comment on those.
Okay.
With a planning project, all I need to make sure is we have all the right paperwork in place and it goes in a file. So it's minor, but just need to double check to do it. So again, we'll be assisting the town in overseeing this project. There'll be a couple of things that a startup will need to do. Our role will be both on the financial side and on the project oversight side. I have 3 financial people in community development. So one of those will basically be setting up a checking account in your name. There'll be a couple of bank cards. We go to the town, you have to sign off. I'll add one of those people to the account, and they'll manage all the monies, managed through you. So it'll probably be 2 draws. And when the necessity to pay one of the consultants, we'll issue a draw to the state in your name, the money comes to you. So you know when it comes. My person will contact your accountant, say, we issue a draw request for $25,000. In about 6 weeks, you'll probably see it in your bank account. Right. Okay, let us know. And then when you get it, you need to put it on your warrant. You sign it, it goes then to my person, goes to get a deposit, and then she writes the checks out to the various consultants. It'll probably be 2 draws for the whole period. It's not going to be a big deal. But we have to set up those, so I'll have one of my folks contact the town. Obviously, we have our contract, which is no big deal. Our contract is $5,000. Reality, that's about 20 hours of my time, about 30 hours of my time, about 10 hours of a financial person's time. $500 for direct costs will be the advertising for the consultant and a little bit of mileage travel time. So that's what it boils down to. We have an overhead rate of 118.8%. So that's why the hours is as what it is. Those we can all get in underway in the next 2 weeks. The biggest thing, which is the gist of this project, is, and I think it's indicated when we applied for it, I really strongly recommend you set up an oversight committee of 5 to 7 people. What we will then do, and I can actually get this started in the meantime, but can develop an RFP, which then your committee will be reviewing and then fine-tuning and making changes on, but it'll be based upon the scope of work that we submitted in the application. But there's different credentials. They might want someone with higher credentials than other criteria. So that's, defining in terms of what type of consultant they would want to have overseeing this project. And then you do that by defining the minimum qualifications and then the evaluation criteria for each category. Once you have your committee, once you have the RFP finalized, we'll put it out to bid, and then your committee will be involved in the whole interviewing, evaluating, ranking, rating, and then interviewing the consultants. I would recommend, I indicated before, done 3 or 4 of these types of projects, exactly the same things with the reuse. And I've done 2 ways. We've had the project under one consultant for the whole project, or we've had it under 2 separate consultants. I found with a project of this size, and there are 2 different types of tasks, but if you bid it out under one consultant, because then if they're working together as a team under their own contract, whereas if you're hiring this consultant, you're hiring that consultant.
You're the manager.
Exactly.
Integrator.
You can't force them to meet, but if you're hiring this one and they're subbing out someone else with a piece, their all responsibility lies within them. So I would strongly suggest, and we can talk with your oversight committee, but it's under one contract. And then, it'll be a team that'll submit their application to you. Ideally, depending upon when you get your oversight committee in place, within 30 days we can have something put out to bid and advertise, assuming that there's agreement on terms of the content. Once that happens, there'd probably be a 2-week time from when the advertisement appears in the paper, and in the central, goods and this would be goods and services, because it involves building. Yes, it would be goods and services. Central register. It'd be 2 weeks, and to get them responses back. So we're probably we could be talking end of August, early September. I'm imagining you're probably going to take about 2 weeks or 3 weeks to review and do interviews. So you could probably have someone on board by the end of September to start the project. And then there's no reason why you couldn't have, by the end of the calendar year, your results in terms of what the rehab costs are, what the market conditions are for reuse and what a recommended reuse would be. And then it would give you time to start pondering that for your next town meeting and how you want to address that.
Okay, great.
Okay, I'm good.
God, that was simple. Unusual for this group.
I just have one question on this committee. Who would you suggest, I mean, as far as just regular,
Well,
I mean, people that have some knowledge of buildings
yeah.
and
You want some diverse mixes, so I think we talked about this before too. I mean, obviously, I think you may want someone from the housing authority, they were part of it early on. Might want a rep from your own board. Someone, if there's someone in the real estate business that's active, maybe in town boards, that would be helpful. Yeah, you can get someone on the building side would be helpful too, if that's possible. It would be wise to have a couple people who live in the town center area, who have an interest in, you know, what the preservation and reuse of that property would be. Planning board, definitely, planning board rep. So I think those would all be a good mix.
that's all.
You'll do all the reporting at the end and so on, Jim?
What's that again?
All the reporting at the end, you guys take care of?
All the reporting as part of the, back to DHCD, yes, we'll do this. We have to do quarterly reports to DHCD, and any other reports are required. We'll be actually monitoring the consultant to make sure that they do what they're both supposed to do, that the deliverables are what they say and that they're on time, and if we feel that if they don't meet that, we'll recommend, you know, we withhold payment. You know, this is not acceptable, you know, hold off on this is how it's supposed to be done. And so we'll be kind of recommending to you whether or not things are acceptable or not.
I understand the whole process. Redevelopment Authority got a grant a few years back to do a study, so it's the same thing.
Very much so, yes, yeah.
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 I'm all set.
Well, we'll get back to you shortly with a steering group.
You can give me that, Paul, give me a copy of the contract. I'll start this other process, and as soon as we get the committee in place, then we can hit the ground running.
One thing, earlier you were talking about a 3-member committee, now you're talking about potentially 5, or
Well,
was there
I think
anything behind that, or?
I think 3 might be a little bit too small.
Okay.
I think 5 is probably a magic number, but sometimes you
Yeah.
can't limit it to 5. You might want to, you know, there's
Okay.
other interests, but I think 5 is probably a better number to use.
Okay, great.
Jim, are we going to need a contract with you?
Yes, I will have a draft. I can get that before the week's over.
Okay.
As long as your contract is, actually, I still need to see the town's contract before I would do anything. I'd write a contract to send you to review for us. Because I don't want the dates and make sure that things are in order with
Right,
that. So,
right, okay,
but I'll get that to you shortly,
very good.
as well as the financial cards that need to be filled out and signed.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Jim. Appreciate it.
Good,
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
That was quick.
Thanks, Jim.
It's the heat.
Yeah,
We're trying to push things along.
I don't blame you.
Just before we slip into talking about the steering committee, let me step back. Was it a set of minutes from July 9th? Is there a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen minutes of 9 July?
I've got a couple of items on here. On Energy Committee, when there was a vote taken, there was no conclusion to the vote. It should have, there should be in here somewhere, Lesko withdrew his motion.
Okay.
Okay. That happened on a couple of these. They were like open-ended here, and they got to be closed out. Just,
From what I heard, they weren't voted, they weren't approved.
they what?
From what I heard, they were not approved. There was only a motion.
Yeah, but then it should state in here, no action taken or something like that, because you don't know how the ending happened here. So, and that's the same as in the next paragraph down, okay? There was a second, and then there was no action taken. And on page 3, at the top of the page, that should be no action taken. And that's it. I move we
Subject to,
accept the minutes with the additional changes,
is that it?
corrections.
Yeah.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We just heard Jim talking about the steering group for the center school reuse and assessment study. We did earlier, I did, had a communication with Bob Bartlett. He volunteered to represent the Board of Selectmen. He brings to the table the planning board expertise. Jim was just talking about building expertise. Well, actually, he cuts across several areas of expertise, and he would be one.
Did you have? was there
Mr.
any
John
other ones?
Wilkes, I spoke to him this morning. He had earlier talked to the town administrator expressing interest in participating. He advised that his committee has met but did not vote for him to be their representative. Rather, they asked that the Board of Selectmen choose someone, in that they were all interested in participating. Threw it back to us
Yeah.
to represent the housing authority.
Yeah.
So everybody on the
So-
housing authority was interested.
Yeah, everyone on the housing. That was what, Buster and John and
Mike McGraw and,
Mike.
and
there's what's the lady's name? Mike.
I've got an idea. I also think that somebody from the Community Preservation Committee should be on this group, and John's on the CPC. So perhaps he could be the representative from the CPC and one of the other members from the Housing Authority.
I mean, we're going to, I guess we should have started off with this. Can we agree that we go with a 5-member board? At first we were
I
talking about
move that we go
3.
with a 5-member board for the center school
Is there a second to that? Okay. Amending our
steering committee.
stadium committee to be a 5-member. Okay, that's second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we've got, well, John could wear many hats if,
Yeah.
he doesn't necessarily have to, you could have more than one from housing.
Well,
if you
that's
choose.
true. That's true. I know, John essentially initiated this particular go-around with the schools, so I know he has a keen interest in this.
Well, John would be a
Let's
good-
put it out there for, until our next meeting, put it out there if somebody is interested in
Oh, wow.
serving on this committee.
Linda Hurley, who was on the committee that we formed
Police
basically,
chief.
a number of years ago. She was interested in being on the group. So I think we'll have enough of people. It's just a matter.
Just got to get the volunteers forward so we can appoint
Yeah. Who wants to represent the Board of Selectmen?
Bob Bartlett.
Bartlett.
Oh, he'd be the board's rep?
Yeah.
Okay.
My only concern is when's our next meeting?
The 13th.
2 weeks.
Reading up a lot of clock here.
Yeah. I would suggest that you make, the known appointments, right now, and we'll fill it in later.
I'd like to get at least 3.
Yeah, to get started.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, is there
John
any
would
reason we
bring-
couldn't have 2 from the housing authority?
no, there's no reason you can't.
I mean, John Wilkes would be a good one because he started that. I know Stanley Szymanski, he might be a good one just for contractor side.
Well, you've got Bob with contractor.
You got Bob, yeah.
What
Buster's
about,
on the electrical and Bob's on the construction.
what about Linda? What's
No, I mean, she
expertise?
said, well, like, basically, she said that she was on the committee the last time, and she'd like to just keep following through with what their ideas were, the past committees' ideas that they brought back to us that, I mean, so,
Do we want to put Linda down? She
I mean, yeah.
definitely wants to be
well, I
there.
mean, that's what she said, so.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to appoint somebody that doesn't really want to be there.
Janet brought that up last meeting. Linda Hurley. Now that's 3. We could get started with the 3 at least.
It's 4, right?
I mean, I don't have a
Who's it
problem
for?
with Buster, with
Well, I
Buster
mean,
being there.
Buster,
Buster?
yeah, if you want.
Okay.
And then maybe one at large, somebody out there that wants to be involved. Leave an open,
Is there anybody in the center of town? He did kind of suggest somebody right around this area.
yeah, maybe part of the public would be interested in serving on this, just to add a bunch of questions to it.
All right, is there a motion to appoint to the Center School Steering Committee Mr. Bob Bartlett, Mr. John Wilkes, Ms. Linda Hurley, and Mr.
Stanley
Szymanski?
I'll move that we appoint all 4 to the Center School Steering Committee.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And if anyone is interested, has particular expertise they could bring to bear on this, please contact the town administrator, and hopefully you do that sooner than later.
Or just interested. Sometimes they don't have to have a trade or whatever, but they ask a bunch of questions, and that makes everybody think about it.
Okay. Great. But there's enough folks there to get
Sure, get started.
Absolutely.
MSBA Accelerator Repair Program?
Yeah, not too much to report yet. I think we discussed at the last meeting that the school committee has not taken any action on this yet in terms of appropriating money to do the feasibility study, but it's expected that they will at their next meeting. But I did speak with the superintendent, John Robert, yesterday, and he is plowing ahead with all the paperwork. And I'm actually, he says he's going to need help from me on it, so he and I are actually getting together tomorrow.
Okay, good.
So,
Yeah, that's for the September submission?
right.
Okay. What we're talking about is the potential grant for work at Smith Academy to replace the roof and windows. And there's an extensive series of certifications required and commitments on the town's behalf before any final award is made. We're working on that now. Okay, great. Thank you. Energy Committee, God. I almost don't even want to. Let me, it's time for us to make a decision. Perhaps we're tardy in closing on this, and I'll fault myself. We met back, I think, I don't know, it was February or March, with the committee, outlined some of the issues we had, that is the need for rebaselining of our plan, which began, it's a 5-year plan, it began in fiscal year '08, so it closed in fiscal year '13. So we needed to update the plan to change the baseline. 2, we needed to update the plan to remove some of the items that had been closed out and to create new action items. Then belatedly in May, We met with the chair of the energy group who came in to express that some of the committee members had some issues with regard to the solar bylaw and how that was handled at town meeting. Had some issues residual about how the Sunshot grant was administered as opposed to paying members of the Energy Committee. We used, as we're doing here again, the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission to execute the grant. And there was one other issue, I can't even remember what it was. We asked that, and there was some expression that some of the folks may not choose to participate. We asked for feedback promptly as to, well, who, so we could go ahead and replace them if they chose. Anyway, as of the 23rd of July, apparently that meeting of the Energy Committee has not even taken place. So meanwhile, DOER is concerned, and they've been very helpful, Mr. Jim Barry in particular, that one, we never even submitted the report that was due last November. We've got a report due this coming November. They're willing to let the last November report slide. They're looking for a good, clean report this November, an updated plan with it's rebaselined and recalibrated for the next 5 years, for another 5-year period, that is. We waited patiently for months here for some action on the Energy Committee to move forward on this. It appears it's not happening, or for whatever reason, but it's time to cut bait and move forward. So let me throw it open about suggestions.
You know how I feel. I've been trying to close this for months here, and I appreciate your patience, because I lost patience quite a while ago. You know, with my take on it, like I said before, the ones that are not interested, we go back and rescind our votes on their appointments, or there's two choices here, or we can take and dissolve the whole committee and start from scratch, and then we do know that the school is going to be involved, and then there's a few other ones that might want to be on that, where we can revise the charter if needed, and then move forward. So there's a couple options here we can do.
You have any?
No, I guess I'm basically with you on I try to get them to be active, and I guess it's not working. So what I understand is the chairman did have a meeting scheduled, but nobody showed.
That's correct.
He is a rep for the school.
Correct.
I sooner keep him on and go with Ed's suggestion. And
Well, we can go either way. We can rescind our votes on the appointment, on the people that aren't interested. I know 2 or 3 are interested in it. Or we can start from scratch and create a new charter. But I think, Paul, you said the charter was pretty close.
It needs to be tweaked. It needs to be tweaked. I'd like to see it
So maybe we
read
should
a little
just-
more focused on you know, on the whole Green Communities program. I mean, it does talk about reporting requirements, all that, but I think it needs to be refocused somewhat.
So,
Well, let's first. We agree that we should have a committee.
oh, absolutely. We need a committee.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
yeah, and part of the issue here was everything was going to end up falling on Paul's lap if we don't get something going. So the follow-on there is the charter sufficient for a residual from those appointed now to continue with while we tweak it? Or is it so fatally flawed it needs to be?
I wouldn't say it's fatally flawed, no.
Okay.
There's a lot of things in there
Okay,
that
so
comply with
we have
today's-
a functional charter that needs to be tweaked, and we can take that as a sidebar action to work that. Now, that current charter provides for 2 representatives. One, a representative of the school committee, and of course they own some major facilities in the town, and they are a significant player. And second, the finance committee.
I didn't
And
think the
those-
finance committee was on that. I thought,
It does. Darrell is the finance committee representative.
yeah, but I thought he wanted to be just on the energy committee.
He is the finance committee representative on the energy committee.
Okay, because I know the school had to be represented, but I didn't think the finance committee, but maybe I'm wrong on that.
So we have those 2. Mr. Frank Motika has indicated he
certainly
wants
to have,
to continue.
right.
That gives you a quorum of 3. The other 2, the town administrator has attempted to contact and has had no response.
So if we tweak the contract, then we should get that done and then check with the other 3 members if they're still interested, the way we've come up with a
Well, the finance committee representative is interested in continuing. Mr. Motika is interested in continuing.
irregardless of how we tweak it.
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Pashik, the school committee, and the school is very much interested in continuing. As a matter of fact, there's some school-specific grants coming available with respect to energy, and they're engaged in that right now. So we'll leave the charter as is for the moment, but we'll, why don't you take a look
Yeah,
and
we can,
propose
we
your
can,
tweaks.
we can revisit it within the next, few
Okay,
weeks.
and then what we're talking about is vacating 2 appointments. Is that what we're talking about? Because
Vacate.
we reduced the thing from 7 to 5 positions.
Okay.
So we're talking about vacating 2 appointments and advertising for 2 appointments to the Energy Committee.
I'd like to move that we vacate, or we rescind the vote
That's a
for
vacation.
Chris Smith and Dave, and what was his?
Mr. Biddle.
David Biddle, yes. They haven't responded at all to you, Paul.
No.
And we have to get moving forward here, so I move that we vacate their positions.
Second.
All right, any other discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then we are looking for 2 individuals willing to work, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and it needs to be done promptly because November is racing toward us. With the report due, a replan due, a lot of coordination due. Mr. Jim Barry, the state, is DOER, is very willing to help in any way he possibly can and facilitate this with us. But there's some significant work that needs to be done in short order.
I'd like to make sure that you let Lydia know that what we've done here, give her a copy of the minutes,
Yep,
and even you can give her the preliminary minutes,
yeah,
the draft minutes, and of our vote,
yeah,
so we
okay.
can move this thing along.
Okay.
Okay.
That way if somebody comes in, we're all ready to go. And
Just to fill you in on some activities that have taken place in regard to all this. We discussed, I was approached by an energy company called Guardian, who comes in, they work with municipalities, they will perform energy audits at no cost, and develop projects, and the way they are paid is, they will help the town submit grants for green
approved that
community
last
money.
meeting.
Yeah. So anyways, I've been in contact with them. I will be meeting with them next week. They're actually going to start performing some of the energy audits next week. I've also, so that provides projects for the energy plan. So they don't put energy plans together, but they can develop projects that will you know, be part of the energy plan. I've also been in contact with Mr. David Major, who provided volunteer services for the last energy plan that was developed. He actually did, you know, pretty much all the technical work on it. So I've been in contact with him and informed him that, you know, we have funding to hire a consultant to help us with this. So he actually can't do it himself, but I just got a message from him this morning that there's someone that he works closely with that can help us out, and he will kind of oversee the whole project and, you know, kind of supervise. So I guess the bottom line is I will get an updated energy plan in to DOER by the end of November, with or without an energy committee.
We have an energy committee.
Whether they help me out or not.
Well, that's you to corral them together and
Yeah.
get them in your office and have a meeting.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to let them drag me down. I'm
Well,
not
there's
going to
certain-
I'm not going to wait for them.
Well,
Let me put it
I
that
think
way.
in all fairness, you should give the committee at least some kind of a schedule that you need to get done by, okay? So they can see that come September 1st, I need this, this, and this. Come October, you need this, this. I mean, that's, let them know what's out there, because they may not know. You know, but they don't.
I know,
Okay?
yeah.
That's all we keep saying, is there's a lot of work to be done, but it's got to be put together, and deadlines got to be put in there so they can see exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure that they'll come forward and get this thing completed.
Okay. Rec Committee. We did vacate one position last week, and are we ready to appoint?
I didn't get anything in the package here.
Is there nothing in the packet from Lydia? No. We didn't get anything from Lydia, so.
On the appointment?
Well, I guess what is it we need from Lydia now?
Well, it's just the
We need
form. I mean, but
form
that can
that-
be taken care of.
There is a vacancy.
Post, can we
Well-
take care of that after the fact?
Can we
Form?
move on the position
Yes.
and contingent on getting the information from Lydia?
Well, it's a 5-year term. Is there a motion to approve Mr. Jay Niles' appointment to the Recreation Committee for a
So
5-year
moved.
term?
So moved. Contingent on the paperwork from Lydia
All right.
to Paul.
No, second.
Second? Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
All right. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to get it done for a couple more weeks, and I know they've
Yeah,
got a lot of projects going on.
this has
and
been dragging
a
on
lot of
long
work going
enough.
on, so.
Human Resources Committee. There's a revised charter. Are we okay with the revised charter now? There was one, there's one thing. The committee will hear employee complaints as referred. As referred is a big key thing, because it's supervisor's responsibility to hear their employee complaints and to address them, not to hand them off to some other. But
I
there
think
may be times when they need some objective help, or, and the other thing is, underlying all this, what's in individual contracts and or in union contracts overrides anything here. I mean, if the union contract specifies a specific way grievances are handled, that grievance procedure is what's followed.
Okay, this here, I mean, to hear an employee, if somebody has a complaint, it's stating here that they'll sit in, so as a board, they'll sit in and listen to this, okay?
As
Or
referred. That's why,
As referred by the selectmen?
right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not just going to happen.
Okay, that's.
And we don't want
yeah.
to undercut
I
the
just wanted
supervisor.
clarification on that. It should be as referred.
That's what they get paid
Should
for.
we insert that language by the
No,
select?
it's in there. It's in there.
Oh,
I
now
just
it-
wanted to highlight that.
As referred by the selectmen.
Yeah.
Okay.
That way, because they're not expected to do every one,
No.
especially if it's our job on that. I mean, we can ask them to come in if it's recommended that we need their help on something. Other than that, I don't have a problem with it.
Is there a motion to adopt the charter for the Human Resources Advisory Committee as submitted?
I'll move that we adopt the charter dated 7/9/13.
Second? Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Medical Marijuana Dispensary Study Group. All right, we've previously appointed Tom Mosley, and this is consistent with the town meeting article. We've previously appointed Tom Mosley, Stanley Sadowski, and Mr. Ed Lesko. We have not yet appointed Mr. Greg Winters, and
Ellen
Mr.
Bokina
Ellen
from-
Bukina. Ms.
Ellen's-
Bukina would be Board of Health representative, and Greg Winters would be a planning
Planning
board
board, that's correct.
representative. We still need an RN or MD.
And I'm working on that.
Okay.
Yep.
But this would,
Yep.
this is another activity that really needs to get underway, given everything needs to be ready for town meeting
Right.
next
But
May, and we're close on articles the beginning of the year.
key here is everything needs to be in place as soon as possible
Yeah.
because we've got to get
Hearings.
the planning board hearings wherever we find that this location is going to be. It's got to go through the public hearing process and then put on for town meeting. So that has to be done before the end of the year. So the deadline on that is somewhere around December. So we have to have that, at least that part recognized and moving forward.
Is there a motion to approve appointment of Mr. Greg Winters as the planning board representative and Ms. Ellen Bukina as the Board of Health representative to the Medical Marijuana Dispensary Study Group?
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
How about, Paul, sending
Yes, sir.
out something to all these folks and along with a copy of the article, because that's their charter essentially.
As it
rules,
stands now,
regulations.
yeah.
Here's your
Okay.
charter and here's your
Yeah.
timeline.
Yeah.
And also just to let the public know that we're looking for somebody that has a doctor's background or a nurse background, somebody that would be willing to sit on this medical marijuana study group and come up with some ideas and bylaws and on how we're going to proceed in our town in case this ever happens in our town.
Deliverables include bylaws, rules, and regulations, and just for use, you might mention in your note to the committee standing them up that Pioneer Valley Planning Commission has got a study group working on this, so might interface with them,
Might be able to get there.
and plagiarism doesn't count anymore. If they've got good ideas, we'll use them. Town meeting.
I have
Oh.
nothing specific.
Well, all right, well, we had Todd here today. One of the things he was talking about is aggregation. Well, excuse me, net metering. And again, we need
That bylaw.
that language from, Fran Goodgin's now our representative to HCOG. The language that they had proposed, we get a town meeting to adopt to allow the Board of Selectmen to enter into contracts longer than 3 years to take advantage of those net metering savings, the 30% he was talking about. You have to enter into long-term contracts to get the solar credits.
What I would like to see is a checkoff sheet from town meeting, exactly what we have voted on, what we have to do, and what's left to do, and what we have done. So it's as simple as every time we have a town meeting, we have 10, 20 items that we have to do. At least we know where we stand on each one of them, because
Yeah, I know. Well,
that has to be set into place. So Paul, could you
Yep.
take
Not-
care of that with
sure.
some kind of
No
a
problem.
spreadsheet or something that,
Yep.
and that's going to be our our sheet for the year that we go down through, and so when we ask you that, what's left, you can just give us a copy of
That's
it.
easy to do.
Okay.
I'll share with you my work copy. I sometimes think I'm the only one that thinks about these things.
Not your job.
I know.
I keep telling you that.
Well, I wish. FEMA, Ed proposed we table that discussion for today.
Yes, please.
He has some follow-up that he wanted to do.
But everybody got a copy of the memo from Key?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you. Thank you.
Performance reviews with direct reports. We all on track? Okay, you've got.
No, I'm not on
You've got
track.
town administrator, because you were chair this past year, and you've got DPW.
He is done.
I've got fire,
You've got-
police, and building.
Yeah, fire, yeah.
Yeah.
You've got fire, police, what was the other one you said?
Building inspector.
Oh, okay. I forgot about it. Okay. We need to share drafts at some point. I've got the town accountant's drafted and met with him. I'm meeting with Greg tomorrow. I'll get that done this week. But sometime in the next couple of weeks, we need to share drafts. So if anybody has any particular comments they want to add or want considered. All right. Before we talk, and I know we keep slipping on this, but before we talk to the goals, can we slip down to your
Oh,
town hall renovations?
yes. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to update you on. The contractor is, beginning to mobilize, though. And lining up the subcontractors, et cetera. Though nothing much is going to happen until after the variance hearing on August 12th. And we submitted a variance application there a couple months back, had a discussion with the architect to modify some of the language in that variance, which he has provided, and I believe everyone has a copy.
Yes. It was in your... What? Okay, this is something we've kicked around. Everyone acknowledges that we have to caveat what we're going to do because town meeting has to approve the funding for. In the earlier variance package, he outlined some very specific things that would be done. We're trying to caveat it by simply saying, we'll come back within 5 years. Let us do this phase one, and within 5 years, we'll come back and lay out what it is.
Right.
The timelines and agree, fully commit to, and that'll give us time to work various projects.
Save your pennies.
Now, this is much weaker going into the 12 August hearing than the original package, but I didn't want to, as I told Mr. Shea, and he understands, I don't want to go in there and suggest that we're going to do something that
We're in no position to do.
couldn't
Yeah.
execute on. The
Yeah.
board, we go to town meeting, it's not like a city council, right? We go to town meeting for our blessing, and
I mean, you could go before the board, that board, and at the hearing, and state just that. Leave it the way it normally originally was, and just state for the record that it's
that's what I was going to do originally, and then he suggested, well, maybe I'll just,
because if that weakens it, then you certainly don't, I'd rather have you just say that,
Yeah.
it's contingent on town meeting vote, because we, the selectmen, can't control that part. So if it's just a simple one-liner like that,
Yeah, I mean, and this board sees these types of applications all the time. They know how municipalities work. They know that a board of selectmen can't come in and, promise the sun, moon, and stars. They know that.
Yeah. Or just put in parentheses on the original one that was submitted, just put in parentheses that contingent on town meeting vote, period.
Period.
And then you just make sure you reiterate that at the hearing for the record. And so be it. So I wouldn't modify it if it's going to weaken it.
Well, I'm speculating here. Well, I've never appeared before this board, but in the first one we had some concrete things. In 5 years we tried to do this. In 7 years we tried to do this. In 10 years we.
But that's what we would try to do, contingent on town meeting. I mean, that's what we talked about, and that's what we are proposing, but we don't know how it's going to go. Really?
Yeah,
I mean,
we can't,
So as long as
we
they're
can't
clear
promise
that town meeting approval has to execute each one of them items, let it go with the concrete items, Jeff.
Well, what we could do instead of all this is just go back with an amendment to what was submitted with that specific caveat. Leave it stand as it is, but somehow simply make the caveat of.
All we have to do is say subject to town meeting approval.
This is subject to town meeting approval. But then we'd leave in kind of the phasing that we talked about.
Yeah, just leave that, yeah.
I mean, folks need to understand, it's not a function of the Board of Selectmen deciding whether or not we're going to comply with the ADA law. The ADA law, Americans with Disability Act, requires that when you spend more than 30% of the assessed value doing rehab on a facility, you must therefore then bring up your entire facility to ADA requirements.
Right. And if
so it's not something we're dreaming up or pushing on as our own agenda. It's a function of law. So
right.
Now we're trying to just work how can we do this in a way that's manageable here financially for the town. And we originally put in a package that spread it over 10 years, which probably is
and maybe
not,
in the
not
end,
unreasonable given.
I thought it was a reasonable timeline,
$500,000, and we've got some of that covered down by CPA.
Yeah.
maybe in the end it's over 20 years and there's nothing we can do about it because the town doesn't have the money to do
Right.
it. Okay,
Right.
so tentatively, and you can put it just that way, tentatively these are the plans, but it could change through town meeting
How about
approval.
How about getting back to Kevin then?
Okay.
Well, is there a motion to simply amend the existing verbiage in the initial submission to simply caveat that these actions are subject to
town meeting
appropriation?
That's what I would do, and keep everything the way it is.
And leave it as it is?
Yeah.
Is that?
I'll make that motion.
All right. Second? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So you'll
Yep.
just,
Yeah, I think we need to, any amendments need to be in by tomorrow, I
Yes.
believe, so I need to get a hold of them today.
yes. I'm glad I asked it. 3:52 yesterday afternoon.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go to the hearing and amend it at the hearing.
I could, but I'd rather.
Yeah.
I
Give him
think,
a heads
I
up
think
ahead of
Kevin's
time.
already planted the seed
Yeah.
at the board that, and if you read that,
I did.
they understand. I just think we're in firmer grounds if we have some concrete approaches. And the other thing is, for God's sake, we don't want to have to restart this whole thing.
Right.
Kevin's got a plan laid out
Yeah, I mean,
that addresses the ADA requirements. We don't want to have to go with someone else to
No.
figure this out
I mean,
all over again.
Looking at it, from a board member's perspective, okay, here's a facility that is got severe problems with compliance to all kinds of existing codes, and the town is moving forward on bringing a lot of that up to date. Are they going to, start insisting on requirements that essentially are going to kill that project? you know, I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. So,
You know, who knows, maybe in 5 years, there'll be a grant out there like there was 5 years ago for town halls that you'll get all the, all the money you want to renovate the town hall. Okay, and then you can complete everything, all right? But
Yeah.
until then,
Until
we're
then.
struggling to do what we can
Yeah.
within the town's resources, using the
Right,
town's
exactly.
resources.
Okay.
While we're on town hall renovation,
Yeah.
how are we making out with these windows in this auditorium? Remember we were putting it out for bid or something like that?
Yeah, they're supposed to be done
And
first.
that was supposed to be done.
oh, no, that project was rolled into the whole renovation project.
Yeah, remember?
Wasn't supposed
Yeah.
to
No,
be.
no, yeah, we had to, because remember,
Yeah.
we ran into a problem with the state historical folks in terms of they were looking at sending these things to some place in Virginia or somewhere to get restored.
Yeah.
I mean, it was,
We're not
so
restoring
it, so
the
it
metal
got,
thing.
it got too complicated, I know.
Yeah.
It got, so CPA continued to give us the same amount of money that they promised us, but we put it against HVAC.
Right, right.
Okay.
Well, and the other, so there was that issue. There was also, you know, we had to do environmental survey of the building, and of course, lo and behold, there's asbestos in the glazing. Opens up another whole can of worms. So at that point, you know, so the way forward here is just to you know, wrap this project into the whole renovation. So
You're right, originally
yeah.
we were gonna do the separate.
yeah,
and
we
I
were
had-
gonna originally we were gonna do it
But-
separate.
Well, I haven't heard anything, that's why I
Well,
This is
yeah.
months ago, right?
maybe I forgot.
Anyway, we got the
As long
same
as it's
amount of
moving
money.
forward.
We
Yeah.
got the same amount of
Okay.
money from
moving
CPC for the
forward.
project, but it was something they could support legally, and it didn't have all these
All right.
other issues, related issues. Well, Paul, why don't we finish up with you? Did you have anything
Okay.
else?
Okay. Well, nothing more to report on town hall. Garage. The
Well,
contractor is.
One thing on town hall.
Yeah.
Are we set on any relocation plans?
We have.
People are going to be disrupted?
We have a tentative plan.
Okay.
And I.
Is
I
it
say-
executable and reasonable? and-
Well, we have to sit down with the contractor and see if it works for
Okay.
him. But the tentative plan, and this is, you know, in the interim for the first couple of months or so, is that the accountant is going to move into my office with me, so there'll be two of us in there. The tax collector and the assessor's clerk will move into Phil's office, so there'll be two people in there, and Phil is going to relocate to the second floor, the third floor.
Okay, everybody's aware of what's going on and everybody knows what's happening there?
Oh, yeah, yeah. But once again, I say that's tentative because we need to sit down with the contractor, and if he says, no, you know, if I got people within the work area here, you know, it's going to cost more money. If I have to work around them, then we're going to have to come up with a plan B. But that's plan A. So I'm hoping that they can time things so that you know, some of the offices are finished back here before they complete this section. But that's just me speculating at this point. We've had one meeting with them, you know, and we haven't gotten into those kind of details yet.
Okay.
How about the Council on Aging? You've got heat going in there. That's going to
Yeah,
affect them. They're either going to have to
yeah,
find
yeah,
a place to have meals or close it down. I mean, you've got to
Yeah.
include everybody.
yeah.
Just can't do just offices. The whole project has
Right.
got to be looked at on everything that affects anybody in this building needs to be on board at that meeting and have a say on what's going on here.
Yep.
Let's back up to the schedule for the garage.
Well,
Offices
they stated that they would begin mobilizing this week. Whether we actually see them this week, you know, remains to be seen.
What's the estimated completion date?
End of December.
December, okay.
December 27th
So that's not going to provide us any
or something like that.
help?
No,
Particularly-
no. The projects, will essentially be going on concurrently. This one will get started first, and this one will, if all goes according to plan, will start shortly thereafter.
I'd like to thank everybody's cooperation and moving their equipment, moving everything around, shuffling things. And Phil, highway guys, thank them for their help in making this all happen. Fire department, ambulance, everybody had a hand in this here.
Blackboard Connect?
Blackboard Connect. Last week I received a bill from Blackboard Connect for $3,006.
It's our annual contractual.
Well, there's no money to pay it. This was being paid through an article that goes back 3 years. There was money set aside for this back in, 2010, I guess. That money is gone. There was no additional appropriation. I don't know where to pay this out of. I knew nothing about it.
But gee, this shouldn't be until next year.
This is
See,
for
it
this
says
is
due date
July.
is August 9th, 2013, so this is the 2013 bill.
Yeah,
They sent the bill out, the invoice was sent out in July.
This is for beginning July 1, and I don't know where to pay it out of because the money that was appropriated for it ran out.
So I see,
There was an
so it
article
was
for
not.
that?
Huh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, which is a strange way to go about it, but that's the way it was.
Well, the reason it was done that way is because in the very beginning, people weren't so sure if it was a good thing or not. So we set it up with an article, and that way, at the end of the deadline,
Okay.
we could vote, and it should have been an article probably in this past annual town meeting,
Now's the time to evaluate
to whether we
whether we
it's a good thing
continue or not. Yeah.
Okay, so on the contract, this, I believe it's a 3-year contract.
It's
This is
$3,000
no.
a
This
year.
is
Is it
one
a
year.
year or is it a 1 year?
It's
this
$3,000
this
a
is
year.
for 1
Oh, it's a
year.
1 year,
This is for
3,000.
1 year.
They haven't raised the price. That's the same price that they had.
Okay.
Well, this is the emergency contact, telephone contact.
What is the what? I'm sorry.
This is for folks listening, Blackboard
It's
Connect.
the
is,
reverse.
Oh, yeah.
The reverse call.
It's all the
Yeah.
CTY, so it's to notify you, like just what happened on, when you close Prospect Street, when there's a disaster, when there's an emergency, it lets everybody know what's going on here. This is what we're talking about here. So I believe it's working fine. I believe that the town benefits big time from it, the school benefits big time from it. Everybody really is benefiting from it. The move that we continue it, and we find this would be something like an unforeseen, we probably should have caught it, but we didn't. I don't know if the finance committee would do something with this out of the reserve account to take care of this, or
I guess that would be the logical approach.
Yep.
This was
Well,
yeah. This is
there's two things, and
yeah.
one, do we continue with it? I didn't realize there was any even a question about continuing it.
well, that's what we.
It's a
That's why we
valuable
put it as
service.
an article.
So now the real issue you're bringing up, though, is
Money. Right.
Jan will pay for it.
So I move that we continue the CTY program. I guess that's the motion on the floor now.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
All right. And
yeah,
now
it-
the next, the
I
next
can I
question
can.
would be,
Was this not in the fire department's budget?
no.
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 This was
no,
a
that-
separate
It
article.
was a separate article,
It's
which
emergency
I just
services.
found out about. I
Yeah.
had to, I had to talk to Key about this and say, well,
See, this is,
I don't know where this is getting paid
this is
out
why,
of.
this is why if you have an annual sheet with a checkoff list on when these things are due, you're gonna know in 2014 that this expires, and it's gonna be there. So everything is documented,
Well,
everything's on.
We need
on
the service.
track here. We need the service, it's gotta be, we'll find the money for it.
So it's either finance reserve and/or we wait toward the end of the fiscal year and do some reallocation of,
Right, this can come out of the IT budget, this can come out of the telephone budget,
Yeah, that would be, well,
this can
The
come
I-
out of
the
the
IT
emergency
the-
contingency fund
the-
that's there.
the telephone comes out of the IT budget, so there's not two separate line items there. This would be a big hit to the IT budget, a big hit. So I think I need to approach the Finance Committee.
Well,
all right.
you
I mean,
can
we've
approach
gotten
the finance
till-
committee, but I'm willing to bet that they're gonna tell you to take it out of one of your budgets and we'll figure it out at the end of the year. Because they hate to take any money in the
Yeah.
beginning of the year to do that.
Well, the only other account that comes to mind is facilities maintenance.
Well, it can come out of the consultant's account there. Because
Facilities
that's what
maintenance.
it's not facilities maintenance, it's
Yeah, yeah.
it's the one where we can
There's-
use it
there's
for
public-
architects and engineers.
Well, why don't you develop some options?
Let me,
Instead of us trying to tempt it
Yeah,
here.
you deal with it.
I'm gonna, let me talk to Sean.
I would suggest, though, for the next year, that goes either into the
It needs to be,
emergency management,
Line.
so they
Yeah,
yes.
budget for it.
Yeah,
basically budget for it, they
Yes,
know about it,
yeah.
instead of
So it's in
us
his-
getting these
that'd be
bills.
yeah. It needs to be built
gotta
into,
be input- it's
it
gotta
needs
be
to be
put in
built
the
in
budget.
somebody's
Gotta be built
budget.
into the
Yes,
budget.
so this doesn't happen again, now that the trial period is over.
Now would be a good time to send a copy of this to the emergency management director, stating that this be put into her budget, or Bill, whoever's in charge there.
Yeah,
That this be part of their budget on an annual going basis.
yep, yep.
So their
next
budget
year.
was gonna jump 3,000.
That makes the most sense to me.
Get it in place.
Yep,
We'll do it this year, but
yeah.
come finance committee meeting, when we have our meetings and stuff, we're just gonna have to deal with that. And that's something you can even take and put in a new spreadsheet. May as well start it early and get it in place.
Anything else, Paul?
No, that's all I've got.
Phil? How are we doing on Whately water lines? All set?
Moving along slowly.
Moving slowly, yes, very slowly.
I talked to one of the residents last night, and basically he's been waiting on his plumber. We got the school, and we got the other place. It's basically up to them to get it swapped over, otherwise we're shutting them off the 31st.
Well, that's racing toward us.
Well, it's racing towards them more than us.
Yeah, well. Okay, are we going to take up the River Road and the Pantry Chestnut Mountain?
That,
Yeah,
the River Road right now, I talked to Tony. We're not concerned about that because that's a fairly new line that the residents did put in themselves. I gotta say 15 to 20 years ago.
You tied into our lines on that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But that is a new line that I do know.
Well, is there anything we need to let them know that they are something along the line, they are responsible for its maintenance?
Well, I would send them a letter and just let them know, yeah, that,
I'd get the attorney to draft a legal letter that
So there's no question.
there's no questions, we're not going to run into this problem again, that if there's any concern from the property line, onto their residential section, town of Whately or the individual are responsible for it.
in the Pantry Road, Tony might have to get involved in that, only to swap ours into their system.
I don't know if that's a new line that goes underneath
No.
that bridge? That's an old
No,
line?
that's an old line, that's why we're
So
giving
why
it
don't
to
we just
Whately.
sever that and let them tie into Whately off of that end?
We have one Hatfield resident that will be on that system.
Yep.
And that's basically because it's gonna cost us a fortune to put anything either under the bridge or under the brook. So they are gonna take one Hatfield resident.
Okay.
So what we may do is give them a hand swap and everything over and.
Yeah, but isn't the
they'll be-
Hatfield line on this side of the brook?
Yeah, but it's,
So, yeah.
we're gonna abandon it. That's the line that's going bad.
Yeah, but the new house that's on the other side of the brook, on the Whately side.
Right.
Is that the one that you're referring to, that we
Right.
have to still maintain that one?
No, we're not maintaining that one. That's the one that we're gonna turn over to Whately. And they've
Okay.
agreed to take that one and only that one customer.
Okay, so there's another house.
That's because we don't want to go under the brook
Yeah.
or under the bridge.
I understand that part, but you're saying there was one that we will service, and which one's that?
No, no.
They will
Whately will service.
Oh, Whately's,
Whately's
okay.
gonna serve.
Now I got it, okay.
We're
I
just
thought-
gonna give Whately a hand swapping things out over on that side.
That's fine, that's fine.
Okay, so on track.
Yes.
You're taking care of it. Anything else?
Yeah, Jeff, I don't know, maybe Paul, you can, why, I guess when I'm reading this here from Mark Dempsey, he's talking about the elevator and different costs. I mean, we shouldn't be spending any money on that future thing until we're ready to put the elevator in. I don't know why we're dealing with this kind of stuff. Are we paying him to?
Well, this is, what Mr. Lesko's talking about, we're back to the 12 August Architectural Review Board hearing regarding town hall renovations. And one of the things our architect did was talk to staff members on this board, alerting them that we had reservations about the language originally submitted, that is, because it didn't caveat them to say town meeting needs to approve our expenditures. And in the course of that discussion, apparently one member brought up this suggestion about, well, why don't you consider this
A
type
smaller
of
elevator? Okay,
a
this is in
small
response to that.
elevator to go up to the second
Yeah. So
second
that's-
floor here, and
That was probably me.
well, but I kind of agree with Kevin. If you're going to do it right, because it's going to go to all 3 floors. It's not just going to
Yeah.
go from this floor up. It's going to go from the bottom floor to this floor.
But we may
as
not
well
even
as-
put it in that location, that's the whole thing, okay? I mean, down the road 5 years, who knows, it could be somewhere else, okay?
We agree there's an elevator needed. You're right. It's not. We're not going to
Right.
design it on the fly at that
So-
meeting.
Okay,
We're not going to commit to a specific design.
right.
Let's talk about objectives for the year.
Before we, oh, okay, yeah, let's, Nancy,
Oh,
I forgot about that.
nobody has them?
No, I don't have one. So you're gonna have to talk about it next meeting. Well, let's go ahead,
Oh,
go
well-
down through your list here, Jeff.
No, all right, well,
Because it
I'm
should
trying
be
to
fairly
get to-
close to what was last year, our goals and objectives.
you all need to,
Well, this one, I mean,
let me back, it's a matter of process again. When we have something on the agenda,
Should be a-
let's have
Yeah.
whatever the read-ahead material is associated with that item, so we
What
all walk in on a common ground.
what I would like to see is this numbered instead of
Yeah,
bulleted.
numbered and
And if you
one,
put a 1 on, if Todd Ford came in and he's got a package, put number 1 on it and number 2, because if it gets shuffled up, then you're shuffling papers during the meeting, and that's not a good thing, so.
Okay.
If we could get that organized, that'd be great.
well, it's kind of, if you all haven't got it, it's kind of hard to,
All right, let's go on to that. We'll bring it up
table
at the
it.
next meeting.
all right.
Get that ready for next meeting. 'Cause, we've got whole hearing issues here that we got to deal with.
Well, that's next meeting too, is it not? Poll
Pardon?
hearing?
I think that'll be scheduled for the next meeting, the poll hearing.
Got to be so many days prior to the meeting.
Well, there's been one false start on this, I believe.
Right.
Went out, and then there's a notice that also had to appear in the paper. That's all been cleaned up now, but there is no poll hearing today. That'll be another item for our next
Well,
meeting.
when we don't act upon something, why don't we just pass the papers into Paul out of our package? That way he can put them right back in the next time.
Okay.
All right? Because I looked and I reviewed it. So everything on a poll hearing, we don't have to.
Are there any Are we acting on any of these resignations?
I don't think we have to. It's been notified by the town clerk, and he's just notifying us that those guys have resigned.
Okay.
I mean, we can vote to accept the resignation, but
That's okay.
that's
Okay.
not a necessity on that.
How
Got
about,
something on old business. when you
signature?
get a chance. Old business, what do you have for signature stuff?
This is the grant contract that Jim and Paul were discussing. Contract package. We just need to sign it. That's all right.
You just
Any-
have to sign that, don't you? Or do all three of us?
I'll check in a minute. Is there any other business?
Yeah, our credit card, okay?
I talked to
That's an
town
ongoing
treasurer
issue here since
yesterday.
Christmas.
He assured me he was working on it. He was, in fact, had a discussion with Department of Revenue. If it's for the town of Hatfield, he is the accountable and responsible person for the program. So what he was doing was drafting yesterday kind of policies and
Policies,
procedures
yeah.
with respect to its use. So it has
We'll
basic
review.
controls
Yeah.
on the use. So
Yeah. His name will be on the card.
His name will be on, Town of
Yeah.
Hatfield usually is on the card.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean,
on the account, perhaps.
on the account, yeah, yeah.
So,
He's responsible.
He's
The
responsible.
account.
yeah, so he was just
Yeah.
drafting the guidelines, and he had some samples from some other communities. in
I don't
DNR.
understand why it's so complicated, because you
It's
can go to
not.
Staples and create a charge card, you can,
That part is easy.
Yeah, yeah,
The-
yeah, that part
what-
is easy.
What he was concerned about is just putting in place a set of procedures that the Board of Selectmen will adopt. It says, yes, this is how we'll use it.
Mm.
And these are the controls on it. And he was working on it yesterday.
okay. And we'll review it and we'll get back to
Okay.
him. Okay.
Is there anything else?
No, that's
Jan,
all
do you have
I
anything
here.
else?
No, I think I'm all set.
I have one thing.
Yes.
Our next meeting is scheduled for the 13th, August 13th. John's not going to be able to make that. So do you want to just proceed without it being filmed, or do you want to try and change it?
No, I don't want to change it. I want to keep
Yeah.
it right on schedule here.
Yeah, let's,
That's my take on it.
because the following week I'm out of the area.
Just keep on schedule. That we'll save money without having you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Got the hearing in Boston that we've been talking about on the 12th.
Okay.
We'll just continue as.
Okay.
Have we gotten any, speaking of which, have we gotten any people that are interested in being on the Cable Advisory Committee? As
That I'm aware of.
okay.
Okay.
I think we're setting up, what, 5-member board of that also?
I don't know, I don't know if that was ever even discussed in terms of,
I'm asking the question.
yeah. I don't think it,
I thought we said that you would,
You were working it.
you were working
Yeah.
on, that was your part, your
yeah,
project.
yeah. I haven't done much of anything with it.
All right, maybe add that to your list.
Yeah. It's not near the top, I can tell you that.
Well, at least you have it on the list. Then Jeff won't have to worry about keeping
Yeah.
track of it.
Anything else?
No,
Motion
I'm
to
all set.
adjourn?
Move to
So
adjourn.
moved.
Second, yeah.
All in favor?
All right,
Aye. Thank you very much.
thank you very much. John, thank you.